I transformed these blank walls into the industrial loft of my dreams using artist canvas and push pins. All of the materials are linked for you below. Let's get into it.
I don't have a solution for you, just do your best. All body parts necessary.
You'll want to overlap your canvas so that as the canvas shrinks, you'll never get any material directly on your wall. Once your canvas is all pinned up, you'll measure each row in brick size increments using 1/2 inch painter's tape to separate each row. Then you'll spread on your joint compound and peel the tape as you go. You do not want this to dry down. I like to work in small sections. You'll see why in a second. It's a little disheartening here with the brick. I ended up leaving a lot of my joint compound unpainted. You can see all the little striations, like what it's giving amateur hour. There's no reason to be angry or frustrated. It's just, well, this didn't work. Now I know. And also, I made the mistake for you, so you can spare yourself the pain and suffering. My girls Candace and Raven came over to help me after this and really just lift my spirits because DIYing is hard, y'all. Now it's time to paint. I mixed this burnt sienna acrylic paint with a little bit of black to give you that richer tone. Then I added in the peaches and cream. And really, I love this combination and it took me a while to figure it out, but it really gave me that authentic brick color that I was going for. When you're doing this step, you may have extra paint on one, you may not have had enough paint on another brick, so if you have a little bit of excess, you can kind of move that to another brick that needs a little bit of love. I also really love to really feather out the edges so that every brick is a little bit unique, and you want to leave a little bit of time for your joint compound to tack up, and some of them aren't going to have, they're going to be a little wet still, and that's fine. You can just move that joint compound to another brick that maybe was a little bit drier. You can use it to blend the paint a little bit more, and really you just want to create that texture. Then next you want to go in with the black and the white to really give it that worn in, lived in industrial feel. And I really love how this turned out because it gave it that added depth that if you just use the two, the burnt sienna and the peach, it wasn't going to feel as unique and as lived in. And then as I said, I love to feather out the edges so that every brick feels unique and it doesn't feel too cookie cutter. I wanted it to really feel like an industrial loft. After you've done all this, you wait a little bit longer, go back in with a somewhat dry sponge. This is going to help give you that true brick texture, because if you leave it with just the really wet joint compound, it's going to have these peaks that you can kind of see on the right side, and this is really going to work in that texture where it actually feels like brick and doesn't just feel like you threw some joint compound up on your wall. I mixed joint compound with pre-mixed grout because I just found the grout on its own was way too crumbly. Added a little black and a little white, and you definitely want to kind of stick with a true formula so that your grout color is consistent throughout your project. Then you use a paintbrush to fill in all the grout lines. This is definitely the most tedious part. Artist at work.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Hey. How's it going? Don't mind me. I'm just a muse doing a painter's job.
Now Now here is where I have the pins and a lot of different overlapping sections of canvas. So I learned the hard way before on my concrete wall that it's better to just kind of get it on there and then let it separate, let it do what it's gonna do, and then go back later and patch that up once it's kind of set.
Anywhere there's like a seam between two pieces of canvases, canvas sheets that are overlapping, it does not like that. So basically what you want to do is let it completely dry. Once it separates, settles, does what it's going to do, go back in with a pretty thick layer of joint compound to patch that area, then go back through all of the same painting steps. I don't recommend going around windows and difficult shapes. It is possible to kind of cut off those edges, but you want to wait until it's completely dry because like I said earlier, it does shrink and you don't want to get into a situation where you cut it down too early and then now you can't fix it. After a sing-along / dance break, I'm back at it, taping down these edges using this removable double-sided tape, and it's a really easy hack if you don't want any more push pins showing. And once again, if you also want to do the most like I did, this is kind of my eyeball cut as you go method to work around trim. Once you have your shape how you want it, then you just push pin everything down and go back through the process all over again. Thank you so much for watching my DIY faux brick wall tutorial. If you got to this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, that was a lot of work. Was it worth it? And for me, it was. And I'm not just saying that to rationalize the insane amount of work and time that it took to create this ridiculous faux brick wall, but I started this project when I was totally tapped out creatively. I was just feeling stuck and stagnant, and as an actress, a lot of times we have multiple gatekeepers that keep you from creating. I mean, sure, you can make your own projects, but getting to create whenever I feel like it, whenever I feel that inspiration and creative problem solving has been a huge help to me in my mental health, and my creativity has really just flourished. So for that reason, it was definitely worth it. And now every time I'm sitting there having my tea, having my quiet time in the morning, to look up and be like, I made that, I painted that, I brought that to life. And then I also think, oh, now I have to take it all down at some point. Now that's just me. If anyone is looking to try this at home, I definitely recognize you think through the risks. So all the push pins, they're tiny holes, but they are holes nonetheless. So if you have a super strict landlord or you're worried about that, definitely run it by them first. Don't just start hacking up the walls. And it made a lot of noise because I hammered a lot of the push pins in so I wouldn't bend them and break them. So that's something to consider if you have neighbors that aren't the nicest, then that's another thing to consider. And then just the time. I think if you wanted to do it, I think it's an amazing hack to get a really custom feeling, worn, realistic looking brick. But I don't recommend doing a wall of this scale, and if you can help it and not have to cut around windows and trim and all of that, it would save you a lot of time and stress. That's all I got. I hope this video inspired you to make yourself something nice. Don't forget to subscribe for more out of the box DIY projects.